Hi, Melina here, and, this is going to be my first book review, so let's go. The last book that I most recently read is The Handmaid's Tale by Margaret Atwood. I found this in the free bin of Second and Charles, which I was really surprised about, especially because there's a lot of hype around the book right now, but I was excited for it. It is a little tattered, and I had to kind of tape the front, but still, I was really excited. And basically, if you don't know the plot, you are following a woman in her early 20s, I believe. Her name is Offred. It's not her actual name, but it's the name that she was given in this society. And you follow her as basically she lives in this post-war. It's like a nuclear war happened in the U.S. and it left a lot of women barren and a lot of men infertile and stuff. So now they have this system where women are kind of slaves, and if they're not well off in money and stuff, they have to work as either a handmaid, which is basically where a woman is sent to a house with a married couple, and they have to have sex with the man of the house and try to conceive a kid. And but it's very strict rules. The woman, the handmaid, and the husband aren't allowed to speak, or the wife actually has to be in the room when they do their ceremony nights, which is where they sleep together, and they have to do regular doctor's appointments to try to see if they are getting pregnant. And even when they get pregnant, it's because of how people's bodies are damaged in the society. It very well could be there could be complications with the birth. There could be it could be a stillborn. There could be so many things that happen, and it's just a whole matter of seeing if it works out. So you follow her in her day-to-day life, and she kind of flashbacks a lot to how the society came to be from normal modern-day world. I think this book was written in the 80s, so how the 80s naturally were in that time, and then how it is now, and how everyone managed to let it get that bad. And a lot of people have been reading this, not just because of the TV show, but also because of recent circumstances with our current fucked up government, and they're saying that it's very scary because it's actually possible that something like this society could happen nowadays. And I generally agree, because there's those whole laws that are trying to be passed to make abortion illegal, and there's lots of women's rights things that are it's just a whole mess right now, and knowing who our president is, it's only going to get worse. So, but anyways, that's basically the general plot of the book, and all I know how to naturally say for the most part, plot-wise, and I'm going to try to get into the plot and my thoughts without spoiling too much, and then I'll get into a very spoiler section and I'll mention it beforehand. But I gave this book a 4 out of 5 stars, and it would have been a full 5. I think it's just, it felt like the beginning half of this book moved very slowly, and it's just because the flashbacks were interesting to see how the world became this way, but when you go to modern day and you're following Offred and her life and how it is now, there's not much going on. There's disturbing things here and there that you see, and you're kind of getting assimilated in her life and how it is now, but for the most part, it's just her going to the store and picking up food for the house and stuff, and there's not much going on. But around the second half of the book, I just still kept reading because I wanted to finish it in May, and then there was just a moment where it picks up, and I'll talk about that moment later in the more spoiler section, but, and then I just flew through the whole second half. I did not care for the ending. I will elaborate more later, but just a fair warning, if you like everything to be kind of closed up in the ending, you would probably get angry at this ending. Yeah, that's probably all I can say. Non-spoilery, and everything else is going to be very spoilery, so if you don't want to hear that, don't stay. But basically, I liked the flashbacks and the scenes where they were in that school that kind of teaches them how to become a handmaid and stuff with all the other women. Offred was alright as a main character, but my favorite character of this book was actually Moira, her friend, and I was so excited when she came back into the whole modern day part of the story, because up until that point, everything that involved her was flashbacks. But the area where I think that this book really picked up was when the commander starts calling her in and starts like playing board games with her and stuff, and then of course the whole thing, I just kind of breezed through it in like 1 hour when it came to him actually taking her outside of the house and bringing her to that kind of gentleman's club thing. And I don't know, I felt like I couldn't connect to Offred that much, but I wanted to, because there's just so much that happened to her with her husband and her child, and then finding out that her mother's in one of those things that feels more like a concentration camp than their own terrible circumstances that they're in right now. I really liked Glenn, I believe her name was, her friend that she goes and she walks with, and she kind of has to be assigned to her. I liked her, and I felt really bad when it was revealed at the end, you know, what happened to her and stuff. But a thing that I also really loved about this was Offred. I keep forgetting her name because it wasn't really mentioned that much, and then I was really frustrated at the fact that it was never revealed her actual real name. But I loved her relationship with Nick, I believe his name is. Right? Nick or Nate? I think it's Nick. And, yeah, Nick. Sorry. It would have bothered me. But I loved her relationship with him. I believe that they truly cared about one another in a very weird way, and I get that she felt guilt about it's not cheating because of the circumstances, but it still kind of felt like that way to her, and this book was just really sad. And like when Serena Joy, she shows Offred the picture of her daughter, and she gets so sad by it that she's like, I think I would have preferred not to see anything at all and not really to like know anything. And it's very sad, it's very scary, it's very chilling if you're a woman and you read this, because it's just such a sexist, male-dominated world that is just so scary to even think that it's possible. Like, it feels very feasible. Like, I've seen reviews, like, on Goodreads and stuff that say, like, in comparison to other dystopian novels, such as, like, Hunger Games, this feels more real. And that's what makes it kind of really more like a thriller dystopian than just a regular one. And, yeah, I would definitely recommend this. It is a slower read for the most part. Like, I'm not gonna lie about that, but it is very beautiful writing. Like, I think it was just that I kind of wanted it to go by faster than it did, but if I didn't really care about time limits, I like that just there's stuff that really felt simple, like just her day-to-day life, and it was beautifully described, and it didn't feel complicated for like a classic, because this is considered more of like a modern classic. And yeah, I really enjoyed this. I'm very excited to go into the Hulu show and watch it, because I believe the first season's still slowly releasing episodes. And yeah, I would highly recommend this. I'm kind of now looking for a better copy of this, you know, for my shelves, and probably the vintage Atwood edition, I believe, that's like white and it has like the red women in there, and it's like there's like a bunch of them, kind of like those paper cutouts. But anyways, I digress. I think that this was very chilling, but that it was too slow-paced for me to give it a full 5 out of 5 stars, but everything else I think was well done. The thing that bothered me was kind of the ending, and it wasn't that bad, like the whole her getting taken away and you don't know if it's to a good future or a bad one. I guess that's the only way this kind of could have ended if it wasn't a series. Because I was telling my mom as I was reading it, how how are they going to end this? And, I mean, I guess I kind of get it, but I just didn't like how open-ended things were. I would have loved a sequel, and it would have been very well possible because Margaret Atwood is still releasing books and all that stuff, but it's just like, you know, I wanted to know what happened to her daughter, and, you know, if she ever in the future ends up seeing Moira again, and, like, what her life became, like, what if it was bad, what happens when it gets worse, this world, because it already seems awful in her circumstance, and she's one of the lucky people, and, you know, just all of that, like, it bothered me not to know, like, if it was a good future, would she ever be able to reconnect with Nick, or maybe even her husband again. I just didn't like that there felt like so many plot holes that there was enough information to be able to wrap it all up in a sequel. But, yeah, aside from that, I really enjoyed this. I feel like it's a very good, feminist literature to pick up, and, yeah. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and please subscribe if you want to see more of my face and my books.